Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakhakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, the 144,000 men that are doing his work in sincerity and in truth across the four corners of the earth. And much love to the one-third and the innumerable multitude of you believers out there. To you all, I say Shalom. I'm the brother Yeshaya from the Great Millstone West Palm Beach Church. And I pray, Lord willing, that this lesson is edifying through the Spirit. All right, so I don't know if y'all been seeing what's been going on with President Musk and Vice President Donald Trump. So they've been at odds. You know, they've been going at it, and you're starting to see the downfall of when corruption is involved. You get to start to see certain aspects of it. You know, so I'm gonna say this as a preface. Well, two things. The dude Elon Musk, he's ultimately a demon. He's an Edomite, but I do believe he's a Temanite. I believe he is a very intelligent man. Now, I do think he's through, obviously, because he's a heathen. But I do think he's very intelligent, and he's on a mission for his vision in wickedness. Okay? Matter of fact, I might use this picture as the main picture. So, you know, if you really think about all the things he's involved in, of course he's running the show. He tries to think of a futuristic aspect. You know, he talks about a lot of futuristic things and the outcome of America. Now, first off, this dude is from South Africa. Let me throw that out there. All right. So you're letting a foreigner, technically, you know, call shots. All right. But, you know, he's supposed to be out of the government now, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, this guy he's y'all, you got to understand all the things he's involved in. Right. And I make quite a few lessons on him, but because he's playing a huge role in what's going down in politics right now. But this guy's the head of Starlink, right, which is ultimately going resulting towards the CHIP, the MOTB mentioned in Revelation 13 and 16. He's Neuralink. I'm sorry, Starlink is dealing with satellites, right? Satellite connection and internet and satellite. He has Tesla, which now they have autonomous vehicles where they are self-driving. He has robots, okay, which are much higher level than they have you doing except waving and pouring alcohol. He has they plan on rolling out like the Tesla buses and things. He even got a flame torch, flamethrower under him. He got other stuff too, and I'm forgetting some of the other ones that I know are important. But nonetheless, this dude is behind a lot of digital and technological things, and he's trying to see a way for the future of America, right? And he's trying to persuade Donald Trump to do so. So my second disclaimer is Babylon is falling, man. Babylon is falling. All right. So before I read some of this article, let me go ahead and get a scripture or two that I had pulled up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read this one. This is Mark chapter 3 and starting at verse 23. It says, and he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? All right. How can Satan cast out Satan? You know, how can the wicked cast out the wicked? They supposed to be on the same page. And they are saying they're the physical counterpart of Satan himself. So it says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand, right? So if a kingdom be divided against itself, so when they came in, they was all kumbaya, everything was cool and sweet. And now you got two men who are supposed to be in certain levels of power, fame, and reputation within the United States are now at odds with each other. So if a kingdom divide itself, that kingdom can't stand. So now you don't think that the other countries are seeing this, seeing what's going on? Oh, this guy's supposed to be playing this role. But now we don't even know who the president is. Who's calling the shots? Who's doing what? The fact that he's even able to talk this much, Donald Trump should have been shut this down if it's getting to this point. All right. It says, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Oh, and that I mentioned, Doge as well, cryptocurrency. So he's behind, he's pushing that heavy. That's why you got Doge, meaning the Department of Government Efficiency. But he's trying to decrease the debt that's in America. So he has some good initiatives, but at the end of the day, his end goal, UBI, Universal Basic Income, or like he likes to call it, Universal High Income. So he's behind a lot of agendas that could change the course of the United States as we know it. All right. So Babylon is falling, though, where you have the president of the United States going through this with just a guy who's supposed to be assisting your run. But ultimately, obviously, it's because he contributed a lot of money. He's shown certain things, so we're going to see what happens. But it says, so if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. So America won't be able to stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Right? There's division. You got to have unity when you're doing things like this. But we know that the government is corrupt and it's all divided anyway. It says, and if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. Okay, so Esau, Edom, the so-called white nation, has an end. And it's going to happen. We're just waiting and biding our time to the Lord make his play, So now let me read a little bit of this article. And there's many articles on this and what's been going on between them. This is Politico magazine. It says political news. It says Elon Musk goes scorched earth. All right, that's supposed to be like you on some. When you go scorched earth, that's like you wilding. All right, he's out of control. All right, that's ultimately what this is saying. It says Trump, and this is it says Trump will cause recession implies he should be impeached. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not talking about the impeachment part per se, but the things he's doing can cause a recession. He's trying to get the government economically and financially back on task. So that's why he's doing things like talking about canceling with NATO, withdraw funding, things like that. So I get his agenda, but you're also going to cause, when you're trying to get too much money too fast, bad things happen. Okay, so you're trying to sever a lot of ties and burn a lot of bridges just to do what? Save the government some money. So you gotta be strategic about it. But it says Trump will cause a recession implies he should be impeached. The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year, Musk wrote on X. So hey man, Lord willing, it do be a recession. Lord willing, this shit do go down. But he's not wrong because Trump is wilding out. You gotta basically drastic. How does it go? I don't know, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Drastic measures, drastic something. Y'all know how I go. Right? Drastic situations call for drastic measures. So it is things that need to be done, but he's going to end up, them tariffs to attacking the other countries, that's going to make everybody hate Babylon, as they already do, even worse. It says Elon Musk and Donald Trump's alliance continues to publicly implode, with the world's richest man taking aim at the president's signature. And he's not the richest man, right? The richest people aren't even reported. He's the richest known man, right? Taking aim at the president's signature economic policy, tariffs, and implying he should be removed from office. The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. It marks Musk's biggest criticism yet of Trump's most beloved policies. Musk also took aim at one of the president's most hated political maneuvers, impeachment. Responding to another post about who would win in a fight between Musk and Trump, which also calls for Trump to be impeached and Vice President J.D. Vance to replace him, Musk simply replied, yes. Trump was impeached twice by Democratic-controlled House during his first time, but was acquitted both times by the Senate. So this is gonna get wild, man. When they're fighting each other like this, putting stuff online like little children for the world to see. They supposed to be men and talk about this and handle it and get it taken care of. And in that same time, I want to read the book of Isaiah. Let me see here. The book of Isaiah, chapter 19 and verse 2. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, right? So the the ruling class at the moment, right? The Egyptians are referring to the actual Egyptians, right? But this one is synonymous with those who have rule over us, which are the Edomites right now. So they are the modern day Egyptians. And when you read Revelation 11, it says that he shall call this place shall be likened to a spiritual Sodom and Egypt, right? So these are the Egyptians, right? Not the actual Egyptians. The actual Egyptians were dark skinned men, right? The new Egyptians is the Edomite, the so-called white nation. And I would set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. They already have problems with Democrat and Republican, right? Things like that. It says, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against city. So you're going to see problems amongst them. It's becoming normalized now, right? And if you're not, it will be soon. It will be soon. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. You see, so the spirit of Egypt is going to fail, right? They got Democrats, Republicans, plebeians, patricians. They got all of this mentality that everything's just going to be all right. But really, they're helping forward the downfall of this wicked nation, okay? And we're happy to see it. We're happy to see it, but this is exactly what's going on through the Spirit, all right? This is Jeremiah 51:8. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed, all right? Babylon suddenly fall, howl for her, all right? But Babylon cannot be healed. It's a wrap. It says, Revelation 18 and verse 1, it says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. You know, so ultimately Babylon is going to be inhabited by these creatures. Okay, but that's going to be the actual fallen Babylon. But right now, we're biding our time, waiting to, always trying to praise Yahweh Shem Shah, waiting to do His bidding. Ultimately, man's ways are of the Lord. Everything you're doing, that's up to the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah. Call out Yahweh Shem Shah. Yep. It says, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You see that? So they all on that Babylon juice, man. Right? But now they're going to start waking up to realizing, you see, they wax rich through the abundance of Babylon, but then they're starting to realize that Babylon is really not where it's at. We'll take money from y'all, but, y'all wicked over there. They ain't gonna say it like that, but Americans are wicked. Edomites are wicked, man. This is Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before fall. So that applies to this country as a whole, and that also applies to Elon and Donald Trump, man. This shit petty. At the end of the day, it ain't petty, but it don't need to be broadcast to the world. Y'all can talk about this behind closed doors and get to the bottom of the shit. Figure it out. But we know that this government is not about figuring shit out. This government is about lying, stealing, conniving, misleading, deceiving. That's what this government is about. This is probably all a hoax anyway. Just get you to choose sides and all of that kind of nonsense, man. Let me see here. Oh, wait, that's not right. This is Jeremiah 49:16. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee in the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord. Right? So the so-called white nation, they're going to be brought down to the lowest estate. The Lord is going to put them in the lowest they've ever been. right? That says it says it calls them, and when we read the book of Jeremiah the 30th Job the 30th chapter, it calls them the basest of men, right? That means the lowest of all men. You can't get any lower, right? So that's an Edomite for you. So his pride, Donald Trump's, Elon Musk, all these Edomites, their pride is what's going to be the reason for their fall. Ultimately to come in the return of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai, but their pride is uncanny, man. Right? And the Lord is going to have to deal with that. He looks for humble men who have humility. Okay? Let me see here. Verse 2 Ezra 15 and 18, it says, "For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." Man, it's about to get bad out here. You know, they're not going to care about your position, who you are, what you do, right? And you see, they're supposed to be friends, and they're turning on each other, man. Allies, and they're turning on each other and putting it on public display like little children, right? So, in Jacob's trouble, they're not going to give a damn about each other. This is 2 Ezra 15 and 14. "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." All right, 2 Ezra 15 and verse 14. "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power." So when Jacob's trouble happens, you think they're going to care about Elon Musk's money? Or you think they're going to care about Donald Trump's title? Nah, that stuff's not going to matter. All right, that stuff is not going to matter. It says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." So they both going to be out here hurt. It says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor." So they're already starting the feud of that spiritual warfare, if you will. That's supposed to be likened by people. But nah, this is fading away. It says, "But shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation." Right? So they're going to turn their back on each other, man. They already are. They probably secretly hate each other, for all you know, man. But this thing is going to go down, and it's going to change. Let's see here. I was trying to see if I had another precept. But let me see let me check the article. I'm probably going to wrap it up soon. Let me go back to the news thing. Let's see if it says anything else. He said Musk has called Tesla the least affected car company from the tariffs due to supply chains being split between Europe, China, and North America. But the Tesla CEO hasn't shielded away from the bashing Trump's advisor in the past, even labeling Navarro a moron. It says Trump hit back. Wait, let's see here. It says, in addition to railing against the tariffs, Musk has spent the last 3 days rallying against the administration's big, beautiful bill, which he called disgusting and pork-filled. That's how you know pork is through. And a flood of ex-posts urging Senate Republicans to reject the mega funding legislation. Trump hit back early Thursday saying he was disappointed by Musk's comments. "Elon and I had a great relationship," Trump told reporters in the Oval Office. "I don't know if we will anymore." But yeah, man, so, it's going to get real. They're going to show their real colors. They showing who they really are. They showing they not down for the people. They just doing what they want to do, and they don't care about how whatever you feel about it. You pick a side, and that's it. But Yahweh, it's cool. Yahweh Shem Shah is going to intervene with this, man. But I truly do and pray and hope that the Lord willing this lesson was edifying. I want to give all the praise, all the honor, all the glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and mercy to the elect. Until next time, Shalom.